You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people, good people, good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 140. I'm Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Today's guest is the author of Bumping Dots, The Art of Serendipitous Encounters. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure we'll all be inspired by his story. Let's chop it up with Dr. Herb Thomas. Dr. Thomas, how's it going?
Hey, I'm excited. How you doing?
Glad to hear that. All is well on my end, too. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate the invitation.
Yes, sir. Of course, here to talk about all the great things you're doing present day as an entrepreneur, trainer, educator, author. But before we talk about all the great things you got going on, let's get to know the man behind it all. Born and raised in Montgomery, but grew up between Tuskegee and Opelika. What was your upbringing like?
Oh, yes. I enjoyed both Tuskegee and Opelika, especially Tuskegee having the university there. And both parents were educators, and my father, he pastored different AME Zion churches. So he was I guess you said, preacher and a teacher. And my mom taught reading at elementary level and very active in sports and church. And we did a lot of traveling. So really enjoyed my childhood in the South.
Yes, sir. It sounds good. And with your parents both being educators, I'm pretty sure they didn't play the radio with them grades.
Yeah, they didn't play, and they knew all the teachers, so I couldn't hide the grades when it was time to be released. So I had to make sure I passed everything.
Yes, sir. Talking about the good old accountability partners early on in life, huh?
Yes, they wanted to make sure that I really valued education, and I passed that on to my wife, and I passed that on to our two daughters as well.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So overall, it just sounds like you had a great upbringing and you had a great village around you.
Yes, definitely. The community, when they say it takes a village, most of our neighbors were educators and ministers. So saying that, I knew the importance of staying out of trouble and making good grades and going on living a productive life.
Yes, sir. Powerful stuff. So you graduate from Opelika High School and you come on down 85 South to the Alabama State University. What was the HBCU experience like for you, Dr. Thomas?
I would not trade the HBCU experience for the world. And I tell people to this day, those 4 years, notice I said four now, because my parents say, hey, you got 4 years. Were some of the best 4 years of my life. I got a chance to meet my wife at Alabama State University and join the fraternity there. Had an opportunity to be the head equipment student manager for the football team. So, hey, I made the best out of my 4 years.
Absolutely. Good stuff, Doc. Yeah, so to your point, you met the missus, you got a chance to be involved in some student activities and made the most of them 4 years, got in and got out. You didn't play no games.
No, didn't have time. My parents said, hey, look, after this, you like Patti LaBelle, you're on your own.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah, the HBCU experience, I agree wholeheartedly, Doc. It's nothing like it, especially the aspect of being from the South and getting a chance to meet people from the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. And we all just came together over there on South Jackson Street and made some lifelong friends and memories, you know?
Yeah, and back then we did not have social media, we did not have the internet. So basically, we were forced to really communicate with each other, look out for one another. And as you said, you meet people from different parts of the country as well as international students. We had students from Africa, we had students from Jamaica, Bahamas, you name it, Canada, and you got a chance to really appreciate other cultures as well, even though you were at an HBCU.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I agree 100%. So you're going to graduate and going to get more advanced degrees under your belt and spend over 25 years in the higher education realm. Just take us through your career. Just take us through how was that for you? And yeah, just rock and roll, Doc.
Yeah, well, upon graduating from Alabama State, my first real job was a correctional officer. I worked for the Alabama Department of Corrections, And boy, I tell you, you learn a lot. You learn a lot working in corrections. And I left there, went to Mississippi State University, worked there for a year. Let me back up. Before that, I got my master's from Alabama State. Then I went to Mississippi State, worked there a year. And then my wife and I, an older daughter, my youngest daughter was not born yet, we moved to a place called Columbia, Missouri. And while there, I started working on my PhD in higher and adult education with an emphasis in student affairs administration. And while there, a whole lot happened uh, for as higher education. Uh, I accepted my calling in the ministry, so I was licensed and ordained there. My youngest daughter, she was born while there, and my wife ended up receiving her PhD from University of Missouri as well. And as you stated, over 25 years of experience in higher education, uh, in recruitment, retention of college students, academic advisement, um, first year experience programs, summer bridge programs to help those students that did not initially meet the standards to get into the university. We would bring them in the summer, have them to take math and reading and English and get them up to par. So I really enjoyed that, and mentoring. I've mentored over 250 students personally in my higher education career, and many of those students I still remain in contact with today. And matter of fact, now some of them have students that their children are in college. So my career, I've worked, like I said, at Mississippi State, Alabama State, University of Missouri. I was an assistant principal at a junior high school for 2 years in Missouri. And I worked at Wallace Community College in Selma for a few years. So my higher ed experience is vast, to say the least.
Yes, sir. What a career. Great career. You had a chance to move around and work at different universities, but just going back to that, your first job, the DOC, yeah, I'm pretty sure working in that at the correction office, I'm pretty sure they gave you an idea of what you didn't want to do for the rest of your career. So it was a great, I'm pretty sure it was a great stepping stone and you learned some great lessons, but you got up out of there as soon as you could, huh?
Yes, it was one of those positions. I tell you, it's rough because you see a lot, you hear a lot, and you experience a lot. And I did not want to be stressed out, so that's something that motivated me to go back and get my master's degree so I could get up out of there.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I 100% understand. So you go on to Mississippi State and you end up in Columbia, Missouri. So overall, when you first got to Columbia, Missouri, did you experience any culture shock?
Definitely a culture shock. Not that many African Americans there. Um, But to be honest with you, it was a very good time. I enjoyed the people there of all races embraced me. They embraced my family. I enjoyed it. And I thought I was going to be up there for 3 years, but we stayed up there 2 months shy of 10 years. So that's a big gap between 3 years and 10 years, right?
Yes, sir. Okay, awesome, awesome. So the city, a lot of people didn't look like you and I, but y'all made the most of it, and the city embraced y'all. And you got your PhD. The missus got her PhD. So once again, sounds like you made the most of it while you was in Columbia. Good stuff, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, the graduate school there was very helpful, and I ended up receiving a Thurgood Marshall Graduate Fellowship to help waive my tuition, and I got a check every semester. Plus, my department was very supportive. I ended up getting a research assistant position there, and everything worked out for the best. To be honest, it was one of the best decisions that I made was to earn my doctorate from the University of Missouri, Columbia.
Yes, sir. Powerful stuff. So you go on to earn your doctorate and do great things in Columbia, Missouri, and you end up back at the Alabama State University, alma mater. What was it like? Kind of everything coming full circle. Where it started at your college career. What was it like being hired on at the Alabama State University?
I really enjoyed it. As you said, coming full circle, attending Alabama State, receiving 2 degrees there. My wife uh, earned her bachelor's degree there, and my mother and father they actually met. Um, at Alabama State. And it's funny because the student center that's named after Dr. John Garrett Hardy,
Mhm.
they met in Dr. Hardy's sociology class. So for me to come back and bring years of experience of working at different higher education institutions, I wanted to give back to my alma mater that gave me so much. And it's one thing to work at Mississippi State. It's one thing to work at University of Missouri, but it's at a whole nother level when you can give back to your alma mater that set the foundation for you. And people were like really surprised, and I had to let them know that my training came from Alabama State University. And they actually sent me down to recruit students from ASU and other HBCUs.
Mm. That's powerful stuff, Doc. And like you said,
Mhm.
to your point, people were saying they were surprised you came back. But to your point, it just sounds like you never forgot where you came from. So that was a bigger push to even want to come back. Like that was a bigger incentive, like you said, to give back to the university that poured into you. That's amazing.
Yes, thank you. And I really enjoyed working at Alabama State. I think I worked there from 2006, yeah, from 2006 to 2016. And I really enjoyed it, had different positions, got a chance to work in advisement, got a chance to work with first year experience, got a chance to work with the Student Government Association. I was one of the advisors for the SGA for two different administrations. And my daughter, oldest daughter, and my youngest daughter both ended up graduating from Alabama State. So when I say a family school, it's a family school.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Like you said, your parents met there and you and your wife met there and your kids graduated from there. Yeah, definitely. ASU runs all through the Thomas family for real. It's in the bloodline.
It's definitely in the bloodline.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So after Alabama State, just in terms of your academic career, what was your next stop after you left Alabama State?
It was Wallace Community College in Selma, Alabama.
Okay. Okay.
And I went there as director of student support services, which is a TRIO program. And I don't know if you're familiar with the TRIO program or not.
I'm not.
Yeah, what it is, it's a federal funded position and program to mainly serve first generation and low income college students. And I tell you, the staff I had, the administration, very supportive. We got a chance to really work with our students for retention, get them to go ahead and get their associate's degree and transfer to a 4 year school. Now we would actually take them on what we call campus tours, and we would go to schools in Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and allow them to see both HBCUs and PWI and let them see the difference between large schools, small schools, HBCUs, PWIs, private schools, public schools, the whole 9 yards. Because we want them not to make an emotional decision, but we wanted them to make an informed decision. And now I was a little biased towards Alabama State. You can understand that, right?
Right, right.
And so we ended up having a pipeline from Wallace to Alabama State University. And every time we would do a campus tour, uh, Dr. Freddie Williams and his admissions team, they would give us 5-star treatment. And a lot of students, they loved that. It made them feel right at home.
Now, that's powerful, Doc, and hats off to you for exposing those kids to those different colleges, the PWIs, HBCUs, and hey, I understand the bias. I would have did the same thing. I would have made sure ASU was the first stop and the last stop. We'd have made two stops.
Yeah, that's right. Every semester I told them, I said, now we go to other school, but we got to go to Alabama State.
Right, right. No, that's great, Doc. I mean, and that's what it's all about, exposure, just getting a chance to see something outside the norm. And I'm pretty sure those experiences for those college kids were unforgettable and just enriching experiences for them just to see those different colleges. So that's amazing you were able to make an impact while you're down at Wallace. That's amazing, Doc.
Yeah, and just to share with you, some of our students, when we would go to like Florida or outside of the state, And it's sad, but I'm glad we got a chance to help them. These were like 18, 19 year olds, and this was the first time they ever been outside of the state of Alabama.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's wow, that's powerful, and that's just great that you were able to give them that exposure to get outside of Alabama because as you know and I know it's a big beautiful world out there outside of Alabama. I mean, ain't no place like home, but it's great to get out there and get exposed to different places and different cultures.
Yep. We wanted to enhance that and just give them a different way of thinking and looking at things, you know?
Absolutely. Powerful stuff, Doc. So present day, you're an author, entrepreneur, rocking and rolling, doing great things. And the biggest reason why we are having this conversation tonight is just talk about your book, Bumping Dots, The Art of Serendipitous Encounter. But before we talk about the book, just overall the concept bumping dots, how was that birth? Was it a single encounter or a series of encounters? Like what birthed that concept?
Well, to be honest, I've been bumping dots all my life. So when I got a chance to really write this book, it brought back memories of me being a child and really just being in school and being at church and was able to connect to communicate with people. And as I began to matriculate in college. I took it to another level. And then when I got into the professional workplace, it went to even a higher level. And people would always ask me, they would say, Herb or Doc, how did you connect with that person? How were you able to just communicate with them like you've been knowing them for 20 years? And that's how Bumping Dots really was birthed. And I wanted to make sure that I was able to put it in a universal language where people can understand. You might say, well, what is bumping dots? Bumping dots is a concept that recognizes how encounters, which we call bumps, between individuals, which we call dots, have the potential to form connections and reveal the beauty of a serendipitous interaction. That's in a nutshell.
Hmm.
You allow the natural. You allow things to organically take place. And that's bumping dots.
Wow. Yeah, I appreciate you for breaking that down in that simplistic form. And it makes a lot of sense. And even with even just hearing you break that down, it's just a reminder, just in terms of the people we meet in this lifetime, nothing is by mistake. Like and everyone we meet, there's a reason behind it. Of course, we don't know at the moment, but it's important to let things flow, let things happen organically. So that's amazing. Like I appreciate you for breaking that down.
Yes. And to in bumping dots, you want to be fully present during those encounters. We call bumps, right?
Hmm.
And that way you can really cultivate the connection that you make with a person. You never know that the person that's sitting next to you could be the answer to a prayer. The person that you met at a bowling alley could be the one that could help launch your business. The person that you met at the shopping center or the mall could be the one that could share the next great idea, that's something that you've been thinking, and they could share that missing piece. So I always tell people, take advantage of those serendipitous moments and opportunities.
Yes, sir. That's powerful, and that makes a lot of sense. And like even hearing you say that, just in terms of uh you encountering the next person being that can potentially be an impact on your life, I think about it in terms of just myself, just ensuring that I am present when I'm out and about, and that I am kind to people because I may be the beacon of hope that helps somebody else. Like somebody may meet me and may be in a bad mood, but because I was kind to them, it may have kept them from making an emotional decision. So bumping dots, it just sounds so powerful and so amazing. Just like you said, just being present in those encounters and for me, it's just a reminder just to be present and to be kind at all times.
Yes, yes. And in the book, I cover what is bumping dots. I cover you got to have a bumping dots mindset. And in many books, they tell you the what. But in bumping dots, not only we're going to tell you the what, but I'm going to share with you the how to. And I cover intuition in connecting with dots. Have you ever been somewhere and you never met this person ever in your life, but you had a gut feeling that you all were going to hit it off? and you got a chance to meet that person, and sure enough, you all hit it off. Have you ever experienced that?
Yes, sir. I've experienced that a handful of times in my life, but I have, and it just feels natural, doc. It's just one of those things where I've never met. I don't know this guy from Adam, but we just started the conversation, and it just flowing. So to answer your question, yes.
Yes. And in bumping dots, we have to understand personalities. I'm an extrovert. If you're around me for 4.5 seconds, you'll know this guy's an extrovert. Well, I have to realize that everybody's not like me. You have some people that are introverts, but that person that's an introvert, they still have talents and skills and information that's vital, but you just have to learn how to navigate them being an introvert versus an extrovert, and vice versa. If you're an introvert, you have to learn how to communicate and connect with extroverts. So in the book, cover understanding personality, and also we have to realize that everybody's not going to be your dot, and it's okay to walk away. It's okay to say, you know what, this person, we just didn't there was no vibe there. We just did not connect. Okay. And that's fine. So once you get this book, it's easy reading. It will enhance the way you already communicate. It will empower you to communicate more effectively. And it's very age appropriate. It's for high schoolers, for middle school, for colleges, for fraternities, sororities, professional organizations, civic organizations, um, governmental agencies. So this book can be used to teach and train individuals on the art of serendipitous encounters.
Powerful stuff, Doc. I appreciate you for sharing just a preview of the book. We ain't gonna get the whole book away, people. Y'all got to go buy it. But let's back let's back up a little bit, Doc. So whenever I have entrepreneurs, creators, authors on the platform like yourself, I like to talk about three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. Take us back to your aha moment when you first had the idea to take all of your rich experiences from your career and turn it into this book.
Basically, my wife and other close friends, they kept at me about writing the book, but then that aha moment came when actually uh, I had to reflect up on all the people that I met serendipitous. Obviously, I could not remember everyone, but there were certain people that stood out, and I want to share this story quickly with you on one of the individuals that I met. And to this day, I have not met him again. It was
Right?
on a sunlit afternoon while I was in graduate school at the University of Missouri. And I had about an hour before my next class. So I didn't want to drive home and then have to drive back on campus. So I decided that I would just sit out there on one of the benches right outside the main administrative building. And as I walked up, I saw an elderly Caucasian gentleman. He probably looked like he was in the late 40s or early 50s, right? And he was reading a book. And as I approached, we exchanged pleasantries. And he began to talk about the book, and I asked him questions about it. And then he began to share with me history of the city of Columbia. And then he shared with me the rich history of the University of Missouri. And we were just talking back and forth. And before I knew it, it was time for me to go to class. And I told him, hey, I enjoyed the conversation. Have a blessed day. And as I left and got close to the building of my class, one of the workers that I knew at the university asked me, they said, hey, do you know who you were talking to? And I said, well, no, not really. I said, but he was a nice gentleman. And they said, he is an heir to the Walmart uh, family. And I said, wait a minute, like in Sam Walton? And they said, yes, he's related to him. And he's worth about $800 million. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, I should have gone back and say, hey, I'm your cousin, right? but uh, but I say that to say you never know. He was such a kind gentleman. He shared a lot of information. He comes from a family that has immense wealth and influence, and I was talking to this guy. No one interrupted us, right?
Right.
And I look back on it, and maybe, maybe I could have talked to him more about business or something. I don't know. But in that fleeting moment, I realized, hey, I need to write a book. After I reflected on meeting this gentleman years ago, I need to write a book. And that was my aha moment.
That's a powerful aha moment, Doc. I mean, you sitting there with the heir to the Walton family and just having a casual conversation, and that's just that's a great story. Like like you really painted the picture well, and just took me back to Missouri. Like I'm walking on campus, and I can see y'all over there having a conversation, a white man and a black man, and y'all just having a great conversation, and it wasn't about anything but just him sharing information and talking about
Right.
the book and just the history and like just a serendipitous encounter. It makes perfect sense. That's
Yeah.
one of those encounters that I'm pretty sure that you talk about in the book and all that good stuff. So from the time you had that reflection and you had that aha moment, let's talk about the action portion. How long did it take you to write the book from cover to cover?
It took about 4 to 5 months for me to do from start to finish with everything. Yes.
Okay, all right, 4 to 5 months. We know how time fly by, so that's not really long at all. So you got right to it and stay consistent on it. I'm pretty sure you were up some late nights trying to put all them pages together and get all the content together, huh?
Yes, late nights, early mornings, people holding me accountable. I have a mentor of mine that I mentioned in the book. His name is Dr. Greg S. Reed. He's a best-selling author, keynote speaker, film director, humanitarian. And I met him in June of last year. And that's why I tell people you have to be present. Part of being bumping dots is that you have to be in the moment. Okay. I met Greg for the first time in June of last year. He was speaking at an event in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And he did an outstanding job. I mean, he blew the roof off the house. Okay. So at the end of his speech, I wanted to go to him and just say, hey, I enjoyed your presentation. You know, thank you for coming out from San Diego to Chattanooga, Tennessee. And as I approached him, obviously he was flanked by so many people. But when I got there, it was like as time stood still, he stopped what he was doing. He literally stopped what he was doing and he looked up and saw me. He said, come here. So I'm making my way through the crowd and he says, give me your phone. He gives my phone and we end up taking a selfie together. And we started talking. Now remember, you got all these people around him, and he talked with me for a good 3 minutes. And he was genuinely concerned about me and what I wanted to do and how he could help me. So let's fast forward. He told me, here's my number, call me. So I started texting him, then I started calling him, and I asked him, would he be my mentor? And he said yes. And I'm telling you, that's one of the best things that can happen is when you get a mentor, someone that's where you're trying to go. They've already been there, and they can tell you from experience what to expect, what how to avoid pitfalls and things of that nature. And so Greg told me, he said, if you want to write a book, this is what you do. He said, not only do you take action, you take massive action. And that's what I started doing.
Mm. That's amazing, and everything you said is spot on, especially in regards to a mentor. It's vitally important to have a mentor because, like you said, they can help you avoid the pitfalls. They streamline the process. They've been there, done that. So there's nothing new under the sun, especially when it comes to you wanting to write a book. As he's already been a best-selling author, he was able to guide you. He was able to give you the game you needed to be successful, to write the book, to get it done. But I also want to give you your flowers too, Doc, because a lot of people would have got his number and been too afraid to call. Like you had the courage to reach out and say, "Hey, would you be my mentor?" A lot of people would have been on that pride, ego stuff. So hats off to you for not being too egotistical to make the call.
Well, thank you. As I serve as a mentor to several people as well, I tell them closed mouths don't get fed.
Right.
You have not because you ask not. And when you ask a person for something, the worst thing they could tell you is just no, right?
Right.
Make them tell you no. And the man gave me his phone number and he told me, call me. So I'm like, hey, this is someone that's experienced. He has connections. Matter of fact, he wrote the foreword for my book, right? So I mean, hey, you got to go for it.
That's amazing. You spot on with that. The worst thing they gonna say is no, and don't you say no for them. Let them tell you no. That's
That's
powerful.
right. That's right.
Yes, sir. So you write the book, take you 4 to 6 months, you get it done, you get it completed. So it's one thing to have an idea, put action behind the idea, which you did, Doc. It's a whole nother thing to put it out to the world to be praised or criticized. That's where the audacity comes in at. Who or what gave you that courage, that audacity to not only write the book, but to put it out to the world?
Man, my family, my wife, I owe a lot of credit and gratitude to my wife, Dr. Christine Thomas, and my daughters, Dr. Ashley Thomas and Duchess Kimberly Thomas. And they really encouraged me. They supported me. They looked at the book. They would edit. They would give suggestions. I mean, they were fully vested into this book as though they were me. And I appreciate that to the day I die.
Hmm. That's powerful stuff, Doc. And it's just another full circle moment because earlier we was talking about growing up, how it takes a village when we're children. It also takes a village when we're adults. So that's amazing.
Yes, yes. So I am so grateful and thankful to my family for having the heart. They actually have the heart of bumping dots. And that's what made it easy for them to share with me and to give me ideas and to critique certain things. So I am eternally grateful to them.
Yes, sir. Powerful stuff. So you've done great things. You did great things in the academic career. You made an impact, had great influence in your academic career, and currently you're in the entrepreneurial space and you have great things going on now as an author, speaker, entrepreneur in general. And I'm sure great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision. What are some of your short-term and long-term goals in this entrepreneurial space you feel comfortable sharing?
Yes, 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 definitely, definitely want to share with that. Right now, short term, obviously, I have my book. I want to get this book out to the masses through social media, through my speaking engagements, through word of mouth, through family and friends, and to be able to not only get the book out, but to share. Through Zoom calls and coaching sessions. That's part of the vision that I have is now that you have the Bump and Dots book, hey, I want to create a course where I can go through each chapter and you can get in on the Zoom call. And if for some people, if I need to do more of a one-on-one coaching to dive deeper, matter of fact, that's one of the chapters in the book it is called What Happens When You Dig Deeper, right? So I want to be able to dig deeper into each chapter. That's more of the short term. And then more of the long term, I would really want to author a series of books, bumping dots for elementary students, bumping dots for marriage, bumping dots for CEOs, things of that nature. So that's more the long term to get that and to have a documentary of individuals of their growth. Let's say we take a college student, 18 years old, straight out of high school, they're freshmen in college, and we track them and follow them for the next 4 to 6 years and be able to put that documentary of how they have grown and honed their skill set in bumping dots and communicating and connecting with people. So that's what I see down the road.
Yes, sir. Powerful stuff, both short term, long term goals. And I have no doubt you'll make it all come to fruition, Doc.
Well, glory to God. I'm humble and grateful.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. As we wrap up the podcast, Doc, I want to ask $1 million question. I started this
Yeah.
podcast to highlight the greatness connected to the city of Montgomery. Whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, be it college, military, or work, you living in Montgomery, attending the Alabama State University, and later coming back to work at the Alabama State University. I want to ask you, Doc, what do you appreciate the most about the city of Montgomery and just the role it played in your life?
Hey, Montgomery is the what? The capital of dreams, right?
Right.
Montgomery equipped me with the ability to not only dream, but to dream big. And through those dreams, it allowed me to travel all over this country and all over this world. I met people that we could not even speak the same language, but for somehow we understood what each person was saying. It allowed me to connect with people that I never thought in a million years I would be able to connect with and have friendships that have lasted over 40 years. And that's what I'm grateful for. And if I could share this with your audience, create your success strategy, your vision, and you put some goals to it. That's going to be the legs that's going to make it run. And I would tell you to run as fast as you can to the front of the line. Now, you might say, what's in the front of the line? There are two things in the front of the line: the right people and the right opportunity. You've heard people say, I was in the right place at the right time. And you've heard people say, sometimes it's not what you know, but who you know. So that's what I want to leave with your audience.
Powerful stuff, Doc. Powerful stuff. How can people connect with you, Doc? What are your social media handles and website?
Yes, I can be reached on all social media at Dr. Herb Thomas. I can also be reached on my website at drherbthomas.com. That's Dr. No period, Dr. Herb, Herb, Thomas, Thomas.com. And I want to thank you so much for allowing me to come on here and just share my background, my experience, and my new book, Bumping Dots, The Art of Serendipitous Encounters. And I want to encourage you to keep doing great things, that what you're doing with the Gumptown podcast, how you are highlighting entrepreneurs and people that are really making a difference. And I appreciate you doing your homework and asking these thought-provoking questions. And thank you so much.
Yes, sir, Doc. And of course, I'll put all of your social media handles as well as a link to the book in the description of the episode. Hey, Doc, I want to thank you again for giving me a few minutes of your time for the conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, we enjoyed each other, my brother.
Yes, sir. All right. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Go on. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.